Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Korean Connection. Tired of everyone telling you to find your passion, but no one telling you how? Welcome to the Korean Connection, and I'm your host, Korean, an attorney with a passion for empowering others to use their many talents and skills towards a path of self discovery and alignment. Join me as I share my personal stories, professional insights, and practical tips, and how you can connect the dots between what you're great at and turning your passions into purpose. Let's connect. Push it to the left, make it go no more. Make it like no, I'm coming back home. I'm dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Cause I'm coming back home. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Korean Connection. We are at episode 29, and the title of today's episode is Mothering a Community. And today we have a very special guest, super mom of 10, who is a super coach to junior Olympians and college athletes, Deborah Thomas, who is a New York-based track and field coach. She runs a nonprofit track club called In Motion, which she founded in 2010 to provide opportunities for her children and others in the community. We are highlighting her story of family through showcasing her various experiences as a coach and mom. She raised 2 biological children, fostered 5 girls, and raised a niece, nephew, and grandson, totaling 10 children, right?
Correct.
Though Coach Deborah started with no formal coaching experience, she became a highly successful coach to her own children and many others, some of whom have gone to compete in college on scholarships. Her club has produced numerous junior Olympic qualifiers and even record holders at the regional level. She is known in her community as Mama Thomas and uses her track and field program to teach children discipline, give them a purpose, and help them get into college regardless of their ability to pay. Welcome to the Korean Connection, Deborah.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on the show because along with coaching and mentoring and mothering so many others, you also do the same for mine.
I do. And I enjoy every minute of it.
And let me just start by talking about our first interactions of how my children even become a part of the club of In Motion Track Club. So I was trying to get my children involved in some activities, and I sought out Julian likes basketball, and so I had him doing basketball in Spring Valley. I just like the community through the community-based program. And I mentioned to them that I was interested in track, and somebody there gave me your number. And I reached out, and I was sort of determined to have both of them do track and field because I want both of them to be active. But I really wanted, the focus was really Julian.
Absolutely. I remember that.
Yes. And so when I brought both children to you, and you're like, well, you're talking about Julian, but what about Olivia?
Exactly.
So tell me about that experience. Why was it that you were so keen on also including Olivia in that experience?
Well, first, let me explain. When I met your children, they were very, very, very polite, but they were also willing. And Olivia was very standoffish and quiet. I would love to have her because I would love to turn her into that throwing beast. And I did mention, I said, well, what about Olivia? And you're like, really? She could do it? I said, yes. And of course, everybody's not a runner. Everybody is not a thrower. Everybody's not a hurdler. But you know what? The idea is to find out what they are good at and enhance it and make them believe that they can do it so they could become successful in whatever they want.
And what ended up happening?
Well, what ended up happening was Julian is very good, which we already knew because he's an athlete. But Olivia, she surprised everybody. I was able to convince her that she could be an excellent thrower. And as of today, in her age group, she is an excellent thrower. And I am very proud of that. Not only that, You know, people wonder why I do this, to see the satisfaction on her face
Yeah.
and to let her know that she can do it, and the confidence that was built, that's worth every minute of it.
And that's one of the things that I really adore about you, because you're able to look at a child as a blank canvas and see the talents in them and foster the talents that gives them that boost of confidence that they didn't even realize they had. And I've watched Olivia grown over the years that she's been a member of, the team and a member. I mean, you've definitely adopted her, I think.
All my kids.
Right. And that's one of the things too. You make everyone feel as though they're part of the family. And I think that's what's so special about what you bring to everyone's life.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I treat everyone the same. I believe that everybody deserves an opportunity. I believe that everyone deserves discipline, and with discipline comes respect. And when you get that from an individual, I don't care how old they are, it's going to work.
Yeah. And that's also one of the things that was like an easy no-brainer for me, because I saw the level of respect that you demanded from every children. And I saw that
parents.
And parents. Oh, yeah, totally. We'll get into that too. But in demanding that level of respect, you get it. And you do it in such a way where the kids don't feel undermined. They don't feel like someone is just talking over them or not seeing who they are.
That's right.
So you really, you do it in such a natural way. And I love that. And, sometimes you're even apologetic to the parents. You're like, listen, I don't feel any sort of way when you yell when I yell at, at them. I'm really doing it from a place of love. And I'm like, oh my God, yell at them all you want, because that's all I do at home, But, with you do it in such a loving way.
Well,
and I
thank
really
you for
appreciate
that. I
that.
appreciate you saying it.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I mentioned that you are a mother of 10.
I am.
10.
I am. Mm-hmm.
I'm a mother of 2. And sometimes I feel like I'm at my wit's end. How do you do it?
I get that question asked a lot. And it's not a matter of how I do it. I lead with my heart. I love my kids very much. I treat them all as an individual. I find out what makes them turn. I find out what makes them angry. And the reason why I do it is to make sure that I know how to handle them in every situation. I trust in myself, and I make them believe that I trust them. Because when you have a trust between two people, it doesn't matter who they are. It works.
How do you do that? How do you make them believe that you trust them?
Well, with a lot of discipline. Okay, I am very proud of the fact that out of all of the 10 children, every single one of them went to college. And there goes the discipline part. You have to talk to them. You have to make people and kids, I don't care how young they are, believe in themselves. You have to give them the path, and you have to tell them. I never shared with my kids, oh, if you go to college. No, it's when you go to college, and now is when we have to start thinking about things that you have to do. No, you don't need to say, I want to be. No, you just have to know that you're going to be somebody special. And that's the way I deal with everyone.
Yeah. How does, so you may have answered this just by answering that question, but what sort of tools, how do you translate your teachings as a parent into your responsibility as a coach?
Same thing.
Same thing.
I look at my athletes in the face and I ask them, so what do you want from this? What do you expect? Well, let me tell you what I think you can do. Just like they believe that they choose the events they're going to do in meets because I ask them, what do you want to do? And we have a conversation about it. And then I remind them how successful they were at the one they didn't like. And then maybe that conversation could be had. But eventually, it really does come down to what I see because I'm the one training them and I know what their strengths are.
Yeah.
And then I make them believe that they are their strengths as well.
Now, in you coaching these children, sometimes you have to deal with the parents. How do you, because you sort of end up coaching the parents too a little bit, right?
But
that experience.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not the mother hen. I don't think that I'm better than anybody. But you want to know what? A lot of times parents doubt who their kids are. They don't believe that they can do things. And maybe they don't like someone disciplining them outside of the way they do it. But you want to know what? Sometimes parents just need to feel comfortable too. Parents need to understand that, look, you brought them to me. You have to trust in the process is real. You have to believe that it's going to work. And everybody's different. So when parents come to me and say, I don't believe that my kid is able to do that. I said, well, then sit back and watch. Because guess what? I believe it. And I'm going to make them believe it.
Yeah.
And eventually they do come to me and say, hey, you know what? Thank you. And you know what? That's even worth it as well.
Yeah. So I know that you didn't have any formal experience or training as a coach. So what was it? How did that even come about that you wanted to even coach?
Okay. Well, like you said, that I have 10 children, 5 girls I adopted. And I wanted them, give them something that they could want to do and something that they could have for their livelihood. I mean, come on, college is not cheap. I mean, you're not going to get a full scholarship from sports, but it helps.
Yes.
So, of course, I had to teach them that academics is the most important thing. But I wanted to give them something for them to look forward to, for something for them to feel good about themselves with. So I put them into different sports. And they learned how to swim. Basketball was another. Some of them took to it. Some of them did not. There was several things that, we tried. Even cheering, but,
Really?
No, yeah. I mean, they did, and some of them liked it, but, girls, you're not a cheer for someone else. Let them cheer for you.
Right.
And anyway, so after going crazy, because, when you have kids different ages, then their practices are at different times during the week, during the day. It could be one at 5, one at 7. And I did that craziness for about a good year and a half. And then I decided that, let's try track and field, because I know that because my oldest daughter, she ran track for school, and everybody practices together.
Yeah.
They go to meets together, and everybody's together.
Yes.
Didn't that sound like a plan?
Yes.
So I started putting them into programs, and unlike some of my parents, I did not like the way they were being treated. So I learned, and I decided that I am going to coach my girls.
Wow.
And that's how it all started.
And so how old were the girls when you started to coach them?
The youngest was 4. The oldest must have been about 11 or 12.
Yeah. And your boys also did sports as well.
Oh, yes.
So what sports did they do?
Basketball, football, track and field, and basically baseball. I had one son that played baseball.
Yeah. And so when you started coaching the girls, what did you receive any pushback from them about you being their coach and mom?
No, actually, this is the one thing that I do love about the girls. They were very open to it because they thought it was going to be a slide. That, mommy, we're not going to have to do this, that, and the other. But guess what? they learned fast that my expectations were very high.
Right.
Same thing like the academics. You got to do your schoolwork. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And yes, practice became a big part of it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I admire about your girls. Like, they help a lot with the track club. Mm-hmm. And I've never, in all the years that I've been there, I've never seen a hesitation. I've never seen a pushback. They're always so willing not only to continue training to make themselves better, but they're always so willing to help the other children that are on the team as well. They're carrying the equipment. We stay until practice, however late practices are, whatever the weather is. I've never seen any sort of anything other than willingness. So how do you maintain that in them?
You know what? I give them a lot so I could take it away.
But no, explain,
no,
please.
but look, there's a equal amount of respect for each other, and you know what? They don't mind doing for me and helping me, which is a blessing. I always ask them. I don't take it for granted. I ask them, hey, I'm thinking about doing a club again this year. Do you want to help? I'm in. Well, what does that mean? If you're making a commitment to me, I'm going to expect A, B, C, D. And then they said, okay, but let's also understand that there's going to be times when, and I respect that too. If they can't make it, it's a respect thing. Because as you know, sometimes there's 3 girls there. Sometimes there's 2 and there's 1. I don't want it to be a chore. I want it to be enjoyable. However, understand that they also benefit from it. they throw in school. And so when they come to practice with me over the summer, what do you think they're doing? They're
Right.
practicing for themselves too. So it's a win-win for both.
Yeah.
It's helping them as well.
How and when are you having these conversations? Is it at the family dinner table? Are you having these conversations one-on-one? Are you doing it collectively so that they both, they're bouncing ideas or discomforts off of each other? To walk us through how these conversations are taking place in your home.
All of the above. I always, like I said, treat each one of them as an individual. And I also know expectations. I have daughters that go to college full-time. They work full-time. And their schedules are very tight. But this is now come May when they're home. They all work. They still work. So that means that when they get home from work, they have to, be obligated to come with me.
Yeah.
So when I have the conversation, it's like, okay, so this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to get out of it, and this is what I expect, and blah, 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 blah. Again, it's individual. So really, how do you feel about doing? No, I'm doing it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to take care of this, this, and that. And then collectively, they come to their own plan, and then they present it to me. And most of the time I'm for it because each one of them has their own sport or event that they like more than the other.
Yeah. You know what I love about that conversation is that there's no surprises.
No.
It's like you are talking to them about what your expectations are.
All the time.
They're responding to you in terms of what their capacities are. And then, they're following through with the commitments and your expectations and their expectations too. So it's really a two-way street sort of conversation. I love that.
I do too. And you know what? It's so amazing to watch because I find that the girls, sometimes they act just like me. Like sometimes they'll say, okay, well, look, we got to go tell coach. And some of them like, no, you're not doing that. They apply their own discipline because they say, listen, if you want to be good, you have to do A, B, C. If you want to do that, you have to. And then sometimes they'll come over and they'll say, well, Ma, this is what's going on, which I love.
Yeah.
Because they don't take it upon themselves or think that, look, I'm in charge. They
Right.
understand their position
Yeah.
and I love it. But then there's times also, well, guess what? They take the car and they go practice on their own, which I love because they give so much during my practices that they really don't have the full practicing they want, so they go out on their own.
I see. Wow.
I love the girls.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, all my children, I adore them, and I think that they come a long way.
Yeah.
And I just think the respect is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Of course we fight. Of course, there's disagreements.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's with everybody.
Let's just talk a little bit about how the girls came to be. First, just walk me through the decision to even foster.
Okay.
At what point in your life did that decision come and why?
Okay. When I was younger, I always loved kids. I mean, we were outside playing. I born and raised in Brooklyn, so I can't even tell you how outside was fantastic environment in my day and age for going outside. However, there were times of day that everybody else was doing their thing, playing games, and I was playing with the younger kids.
Okay.
I love kids.
Yeah.
When I raised my two boys, and I had also my niece and nephew, and my nephew was the youngest of the four, and he was getting ready to go to college. My oldest son calls me up and says, Mom, what are you going to do? I said, what do you mean? And he says, what are you going to do once he goes to school? You're not going to drive me crazy. What? How dare you? So I said, you know what? I was always thinking about fostering, so maybe I'll do that. Fortunately and unfortunately, I had a bad car accident. So I was not able to go to work and I couldn't get around a lot. So I decided to take the classes. And then the rest is definitely history.
What classes?
The classes to become a foster mother.
Oh, wow. What did that entail?
It's a 6-week training program where they teach you, which was the best thing that ever happened because I am a cuddler. I am somebody that loves with all my heart. I love hard. And I could tell you that those classes really helped a lot. Because if you're going to foster, you need to learn how to let go. Because a lot of times you have to respect the fact that parents may clean up their act. Parents may do the right thing, and you're not going to have the kids in your life anymore. So that was the most important thing that they taught me. But
Wow.
other than that, after the class, they told me, oh, you're going to have 20 kids. And I laughed about it.
And look at you now.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, so you decided to foster a child.
A child.
Right.
A boy.
So tell me what happened.
Well, I had one young lady that I knew that she was going to be leaving. But then I got a call about this little girl that needed. And I said, okay. And can I tell you that I fell in love with her? I absolutely fell. I'm going to get a little emotional.
Which girl is this?
Brianna.
Mm-hmm.
She was my first, and she came to me, and she was just a delight.
How old was she?
4 years
Wow.
old. And I fell in love with her. And then throughout the time, I found out that she had 4 other sisters, and that they were living with different people.
Yeah.
And it kind of like angered me because as sweet as this little girl was, we were out one day and she just broke down, started crying. Oh my God, what's the matter? And she goes, me and my sisters used to dance to this. I'm like, wait, what? And then I went back and I had a conversation, and then I started getting them together.
What do you mean getting them together? Just for play dates?
Play dates, I used to get together with them. Like, no, it became sleepovers. I don't know if it was the worst thing I ever did or the best thing I ever did. But eventually, those times together and everything led to me getting all 5 of the girls. And I think that they tricked me into getting them, but they didn't trick me into adopting them.
Yeah. So tell me about that decision to actually finalize the adoption.
Okay, well, it wasn't something that I was planning on doing.
Yeah.
And again, remember, I wanted boys.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want girls because, they're just different. And I already raised a boy and one girl. And I don't know if you know, that could be that could be very, very, very challenging.
Yes.
But these girls were special. Yes. You hear the term broken girls. You hear these girls talk about how, they're just so misbehaved. And I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that sometimes it's just not their fault.
Yeah.
Who's to blame?
Right.
People could say whatever they want. I choose not to today. But the point is that these girls needed somebody. And when I saw that they were in my care long enough and that they were going to be adopted out, or they were going to see if they were going to go into what they call the adoption pool,
Yeah.
that like threw a sharp pain through
Yeah.
my heart, adoption pool. However, everybody's an individual, and some were going to be adopted right away, and some of
Yes.
them wouldn't. And then just the thought of everything that I built,
Yeah.
taught, and created with these girls were going to go out the window. So I sat down and had a very, very serious talk with myself and my boys, my
Yeah.
biological boys. And it was a decision that was made, and I did it.
So you had your youngest about to be out the door, and now you're adopting 5 girls. Can you just tell us a little bit about the age difference between the girls at the time when they decided to adopt all 5?
Well, the youngest was 2. That was beautiful Yanni. The second one was 5, Taisha the tiger. And then it was Brianna,
Yeah.
the bold and beautiful. And then it was Nyasia. Nyasia is the one that just, she just was so misunderstood so many times that, bringing her in and loving her was the best thing that could have ever happened for her, And then you had Yasmin. Yasmin was the oldest, and she was their mother, It was very hard
How
to
old
get
was she?
9, 10 years old.
Wow.
It was very hard for me to get her to understand that she didn't have to be their mother.
That's not
that
her
I was going to be the
responsibility.
mother. I wanted her to be a little girl. I wanted her to go to school, and I wanted her to be a individual and started taking care of herself instead of worrying about her sisters.
Wow. And that is so that's so hard because, to imagine a 9-year-old having to feel the strain and responsibility of having to care for 4 of a younger sibling when she's just 9 herself, the youngest
Right.
being 2. And you said that they were sort of scattered in different homes.
Well, they were together up until they were taken away, but of course, other people came in and took them and thought that they were going to be able to help with that. But long term, it's very difficult to raise other people's children.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you do it?
I guess I led with my heart. But you know what? My boys made it very easy. They were
Okay.
very hands-on. Even though they weren't in the home anymore, they were very hands-on. And my niece and nephew, my niece was already out of the house. My nephew, he was present.
Yes.
So, they were very involved and they helped a lot. And, I have this little story that I always tell because I remember my Jonathan, I brought the girls the little pink outfits that say pink across the bottom. And he went, no, they're not wearing that. And I'm like, what? No. They can't wear that, Mommy. I do not want people reading what's on their bottom. I had to respect every bit of that.
Right.
And I understood it.
Yes.
And, that just goes to show you how much they care.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So that was going to be my next question. You talked about making this decision to adopt the girls in collaboration with your other children.
Yes, I did.
What was that conversation like? I know they was hinting like, Mom, you need something to do.
Well, that was at first. They didn't expect me to do that.
Yeah.
And
So
they didn't
walk us
expect
through
5.
that. Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
walk us through what that conversation was like when you're sitting down and saying, like, guys, there's 5 of them. What do you think about this?
You know what? I didn't even say that. I just said, listen, it's either I adopt the girls or they're going to be separated again. What do you think? Ma, you got to keep them together.
Oh, wow.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Even my oldest son, Eric, he's a very, very, he's my, realization. He brings me to reality.
Yeah.
Jonathan's happy-go-lucky, but he's always willing to chip in and help out. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They were like, and guess what? They were there for the adoption too.
I even love the way how you pose the question to them. Because, when I said that, I'm going to adopt all 5, what do you think? I love the fact that you pose the question in a way that forced them to think empathetically about the consequences of not making this decision.
Of course.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
How do you even just your way of thinking to even pose the way how you process information and then the way how you deliver the information to your children? It really, and it makes so much sense because your kids they're so empathetic.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
But you want to know what it's more? It's more like I want them to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
I want them to be decision makers. And more importantly, I want them to be productive. And how whatever I do for the rest of my life affects you. Does it really, or is it something you can manage? I mean, they love having a big family. I speak to my boys regularly, and without saying, they're always asking, what's the girls up to? What are they doing? How's this one going? What's that?
Yes.
Listen, they're all different, like I said. Some of them are nicer than others, but you got to expect that. I mean, you say you have 2 kids. You know how differently they are.
Yes.
Can you imagine having 10
No,
kids?
I cannot.
Can you imagine Thanksgiving?
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Christmas? Beautiful.
Wow. And do they all come together for
Yes.
those holiday experiences?
Yes, they still do.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know what? Listen, you're always going to have the estranged. You're always going to have the ones that, listen, I've learned through this whole process that company is a big thing. Negative people don't like to be around positive people. Some people don't like to be held accountable. Every single one of my kids, I held accountable.
Yeah.
And right now, every single one of my grandkids, I'm holding them accountable.
Yeah.
Some of my friends, I hold accountable. Because the only way for you to recognize who you really are and get the best of who you are is to hold yourself accountable.
I'm gonna take a moment to let that sink in, because that is something that I know I personally, struggle with in terms of like the accountability portion, and I'm learning now in my life, in my space and time as a parent, how important it is to be able to hold not only my kids accountable, but to hold myself accountable and follow through with the things that I spew. Like, you can't just say it and not follow through, because it just breeds so much of what you don't want.
And if I gave any advice to my kids as a parent, I tell them, listen, your kids are going to have many questions, but let me give you a piece of advice. Always tell the truth. Because if they find out that you're a liar,
Yeah.
you have no accountability with them.
Wow.
But that's the only way you can hold them accountable. So if they ask me a question I didn't know, I get right back to you. I'm going to go find out.
Right.
But I would never, or hopefully never, lie. Now, there's a thing called a little white lie.
Right. How do you differentiate the difference? You know, I know how to differentiate the difference, but how do you draw that line in terms of like, well, you know, this is for their own protection that I say this, and the risking losing accountability when they find out maybe mom told a little white fib.
Well, because that's why they're called little white lies. They're acceptable, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's deal with the reality of it. You're not going to tell a lie against something that may hurt them, but something that may help them. You know?
Yes.
Like, I believe you can do that, and maybe I didn't. That's a little white lie.
Yeah.
But as long as they believe they can, they're going to try their hardest. Am I right?
Right.
There you go.
So your children, these girls, they're now in college.
Yes.
All of them.
Not anymore. The two oldest are not.
Okay.
Well, of course, the oldest is too old. I have actually they're out of college now. I have the three that are home still or in college. They're still at home. They're of that age, and yes, they all three are in college.
And they're all play sports.
They do.
And
except for the oldest one now, she doesn't because she. You know what? There's a lot of reasons why we stop doing things, and it could be as young as you are, you could still have back problems, or you could have an issue with, balancing.
Yes.
You working full time and going to school full time, and maybe you doing that sport is not something that you have to maintain anymore to get that extra money for college.
Yeah. But sports was a vehicle for essentially all of them.
Every single one of them, yes.
And you didn't stop there.
No.
You're now continuing on with this program and offering it to children in the community.
I am.
What was the reason, or how do you find the drive, rather, to want to continue this for children?
I ask myself that question
every year,
all the time. I do. I constantly debate whether or not I'm going to do it another year, and then you have that child that really needs this for that other year.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Recently, I don't remember which one of the boys said it to me, but they go, "Mom, you know what your problem is?" And I said, "What is that?" You keep taking young kids.
You want to see them, girl? You're never going to stop.
You're never going to stop if you keep taking young kids. If you take I have this little 5-year-old boy. Oh, my God. He is so good. He won so many medals, and you can't tell him anything.
Yeah.
His whole attitude about things have changed.
Yes.
I have another little boy that he has a brother that's good at everything, and he wasn't, unfortunately. And I kept telling the parents, be patient. Be patient. Everybody's not the same. And this year to see him crunch his fist with excitement and tell me, "Coach, I did it." You can't beat that.
Yeah.
So every year, yes, it's a question, am I going to do it next year? But then what about this one? I got to see him at least through high school. And that's the goal.
Yes.
Always to get them to high school, because it doesn't matter. And parents are like, "Oh, well, what are we going to do about this?" I said, "Look, you're worried about the wrong thing. I'm just trying to get them to learn technique and be successful so that when they get in high school, they could be one of."
Yes.
And they want it now, instant gratification. I said, "Listen, if they get medals along the way, I'm all for it. But that's not my goal."
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you're going to have to try and trust the process.
Yeah. So now in taking on 5-year-olds, is there any end in sight that you can see at this point?
I'm not taking any more young kids.
You say that every year.
Well, this year I mean it. Except for one. It's so funny. I had this nurse that came to my house, and she was doing my vitals. It was part of my program. And, she started saying, "So what do you do for exercise?" And why did I tell that young lady that I ran a track club?
Yeah.
Well, she has a 6-year-old kid that she wants to put in it.
Yeah.
And I promised her that I would call her when it comes time, but she may be one that don't want me to yell at her kid.
I don't see that happening.
Listen, the bottom line is I'll do it for as long as I can if I want to still. I mean, I have grandkids, and I don't blame my kids at all for wanting me to spend time with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I selfishly hope that this program continues. And I know every year you're like, don't tell anybody about this program. Don't tell it because I don't want to bring on new people. But every year new people kind of comes on anyway.
Well, I have a limit. And I always go over it, but to a certain... I have an assistant now that's very good at telling people, I don't know if you could join, we'll see, but whatever. And I get other people to tell them because I do feel bad.
Yeah.
But, I honestly just don't have... I can't expect my girls to help me with so many kids.
Yeah.
Even though they do it well.
Yes.
The point is that actually I am really kind of tired now. And I do want to sit back and enjoy and watch the ones that I've already put through it. And now they're in high school and even college. I mean, I have college students coming to me asking me to teach them how to throw that javelin or how to do the technique with this, that, and the other. And you know what? It makes me feel good. And even their faces, as old as they are, when it clicks for them, it's just such an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
But then again, like my boys, they say it all the time. Ma, you need to spend more time with this, and that. He goes, we get it. We know who you are and everything. But Ma, you don't look your age at all. So if I had to vote, I would vote for you to keep right on doing it.
Oh, wow. And you have my vote too, obviously.
Well, yes. And Julian and Olivia, they're very close to my heart. When we talk about that discipline,
yes,
and getting the best out of them,
yes,
and
I appreciate
Mr. Julian and I, what a nice relationship we have now. At one point, we didn't. Let's be honest.
Yes.
We didn't. He didn't like the things I said to him.
He doesn't like to be held accountable.
And he went crying to you. And I said, listen, I just want you to... No, don't explain nothing to me. Keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
And look at where we are now.
And I see the growth. And it's all thanks to you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
So with all the help that you help people...
Mm-hmm.
How hard it is for you to ask for help?
Wow. I do get that question a lot too. It is difficult because you know what? I like to do things my way.
Yeah.
There are some people that I share things with, and sometimes I think that if I did have help, maybe it would have been better for my girls, but I have my boys.
Yeah.
So asking for help, and I do ask them. I really do. Like it is hard, but it's not as hard as you think. And then I do ask, but it's not for things like other people ask me for.
Yeah. What do you do for self-care? Just curious.
I get my feet rubbed.
Yeah. Okay.
I love going to get massages.
Yeah.
And rub my feet. And I also like the head therapy.
That's what is that, head therapy?
When they just massage and just do some circular motions.
Yeah.
That's what I do for self-care.
How often do you get a chance to do that?
You know what? I used to try and say I'm going to do it once a week, but I don't. I do it maybe twice a month.
Okay.
Twice a month.
That's not terrible.
But you know what? Self-care, when I go visit my grandkids, I am in heaven.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. So those are the two things that I really do. Spend time with my grandchildren and my foot rubs and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the questions I have about self-care and asking for help. I remember one time you told me, the girls were saying that you don't like for them to kind of do things. It's hard for them to do things for you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, why is that? Why is it that's so hard to accept help?
No, I do accept help. What they were talking about, and I want to believe that, is like for shopping or birthdays and stuff like that. Self-care, if I want something, I'm going to go get it.
Yes.
I don't believe in denying myself. I've lived too long and I've done so much. I believe that if I want something, I go get it. So in that respect, it's very hard to shop for me, I guess.
Yeah.
So to do something in that respect is hard for me. I cook. I don't like to go out to eat. When they say, "Oh, come on, let's go out and eat," it's not my favorite thing to do.
Okay.
I enjoy cooking. You see me. I get up 5 o'clock in the morning and cook so that my kids can have food to eat when they come home.
Yeah.
And that's just who I am. So I think in that respect they meant that. I don't think that they meant like, oh, I need you to do this, because no. At the house, they have their chores.
Yeah.
And they do their chores. They all take care of themselves. Their self-care is very important to me. All of that was taught. And basically, that's it.
outside of what you do for your athletes, I know, especially within the last few years, we've gone to meets and now you're getting recognition from all these well-trained coaches, right? And teams. And they're really looking at In Motion Track Club as one of the track clubs that's bringing out premier athletes. What does that do for you? I know I see the pride in your face whenever that happens, but what does that do for you internally? How does that make you feel, knowing how far along you've come?
You know what? It does make me feel good because the reason why I started it was for my girls.
Yeah.
And my girls are very successful in their events and their sports, and it helped them tremendously. But more importantly, you were there one day when someone said, "Oh, we know who you are. You're from Brooklyn." I'm like, wait a minute, how did they know that? And they were like, "We see what you're doing with those." And it does. It feels great at the moment. But for you parents to have seen that made me feel even better because sometimes I question, do parents really feel like I'm getting the most out of their students, athletes? And you know what? I feel like, there's so many that I have touched. And then there's a few that I haven't.
Yeah.
But those few I wanted to go away anyway.
Right, right.
And I hate that I'm saying this. I hope nobody takes it offensively. But the point is, it's true. It makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Let me stop lying. I feel good.
Yes.
You know why? Because most of them are men and I am a female.
Yes.
But there are a lot of female coaches that are females that coach track and field, and they're very good too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that it works, and I lead with my heart, and I keep saying that because you have to want to do it to be successful.
Do you ever have any bouts of imposter syndrome where you're like, am I really doing the right thing? Oh, do I really know what I'm doing? Do you ever have those sort of self-doubts at any time?
Everybody doubts themselves, but not when it comes to that, because you know what I did throughout the years? If I didn't know something, I found out. And you know what? My ego is not too big that I cannot ask another coach for help, or where can I get the help? If I didn't know about high jump, I would go to a high jump place and get my daughter in it just so I could watch and see what are the things that had to be done. So the answer to that question is, yeah.
Is this something that you're passionate about, would you say?
Ooh. That's the only reason why. I can honestly tell you that I love it. I am so passionate about it that I don't care who you are, you're going to learn it. Like even Julian.
Yeah.
One day, and I'm not trying to embarrass him or you, but, one day he started crying because, I was so passionate about him doing it the way I wanted him to because it wasn't working. Because I always give them the opportunity to do it their way, but it better work.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to do it my way.
Right.
And one day, I did. I yelled at him. And I felt bad. But guess what? The next day he came stronger and better than ever. I think it clicked for him.
Yeah.
Because then he became one of the best.
Yes.
Not one of.
Yeah. And this platform is about how you're connecting your passions to purpose. So how are you finding purpose in what you're doing?
When I go to a meet and they're no longer in my program, but they're in high school and they're ranked number 1, or you can look them up and see that they're in the top 3 everywhere, that's the purpose.
That's the purpose.
Not for me, for them.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want your athletes to be top tier?
Yeah. I love that. And with that, I want to thank you so very much for coming on the Korean Connection. I just wanted you to know how important what it is that you do is to me. But more than what you do for me, I want you to know that I appreciate who you are.
Thank you so much, Graham.
And so I think it's important to give people their flowers when it's due, not when, something tragic or something happens, or even when you're, only when you're reaping some sort of benefit from
absolutely.
it. And so I wanted to give you your flowers on behalf of all the other parents and all the children that you've helped throughout the community. I want to give you your flowers now. So here you are.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I love my flowers.
And with that, thank you for joining the Korean Connection, and we will see you next time. Let's connect.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you guys for connecting with me today. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to my channel, The Korean Connection. To connect with me, you can email me at thekoreanconnection@gmail.com. And don't forget that sometimes your passion whispers before it roars. And if you're listening closely, the next episode might be where it gets louder. Let's connect.
Push it to the